bit about creativity in the sense of what it means to be creative, what is the state of mind out of which we naturally become creative, what do we mean when we say creative, that type stuff, because creativity, like so many words, is a very abstract term. And while we can think that we're talking about the same thing when we use certain words, in fact, we can be miles apart in the sense of, for example, I'm an artist, so when I think of the term creativity, or I say creativity, what I'm picturing in my mind and thinking about as I'm using that word might be very different than what you're thinking about or picturing in your mind when you hear the same word. So it's not enough to use real generalized terms. We have to be able to bring definition to those words in terms of what do we mean, how do you do them, what is the experience of them, that type stuff. And part of the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because we're in a time right now where a lot's going on, right? And it's a lot about, you know, creativity and transformation and, you know, world shifts. And of course there's major world things going on right now, and there's going to continue to be. But it's like, and we hear, you know, terms that really have no meaning until we actually give them meaning, or we fill them in to help explain what we're talking about. But terms like, you know, living at a higher vibration and vibratory frequency and higher consciousness and, you know, shift in consciousness, awakening, and those type terms, while we all kind of get a general idea, and I'm sure that most people can kind of understand sort of what they're talking about, but what's really going on most of the time is that when the people that are using those type terms over and over, and I mean, you're hearing them just every day, they're using the same words, right? It's like another really big one is ego, right? And we all kind of get what the ego is, but when they use terms like getting rid of the ego, letting the ego die, transcending the ego, all that type of stuff, we don't really know what that means exactly, because of course it's one thing for me to get it conceptually and kind of hold it up here as kind of like an intellectual idea that I can look at and say, yeah, you know, I understand what you mean. It's an entirely different thing for me to be able to do it in my own life, or to understand what it looks like when I'm watching it happen around me, okay? Because things like transcending the ego, death of the ego, all that type of stuff is, when we're watching it, it's usually a crisis and a trauma. Okay, it's not a pleasant situation. So, but we have to kind of get a feel for these type things in order to understand what we're really talking about. But what I wanted to, creativity is basically what we refer to or kind of think of as being the highest state of mind, as well as the highest faculty of the mind in terms of psychology. In psychology, creativity is still one of the biggest mysteries. It's one of the most mysterious areas of psychology, as well as philosophy and you know, things like biochemistry and neurology and all that type of stuff, because we don't really understand what makes some people really creative and what and other people not. So and we can kind of identify the attributes and the qualities that creative people have as opposed to non-creative people, but we're still not quite sure why they're more creative or what it is about them exactly that makes them more creative, because there doesn't seem to be any real connection between how they're raised, education that they're given, their predisposition, that type of stuff doesn't seem to play that big a factor in it. It's kind of like they're either born with a certain type of fire inside of them or they're not, right? And so, because creative people come from all kinds of backgrounds, all walks of life, all economic, you know, generations and everything, so you never quite know for sure which one it is. But and when they're talking about high vibration, you know, higher consciousness, virtuous nature, self-perfection, self-transformation, personal transformation, self-actualization, which is really a form of expression. When they're talking in those terms, that type of language, they're really describing an experience that we can have, that we can actually create ourselves if we know how. But for some reason they don't really talk about how to do it or what the experience is like, but rather they just talk about it in kind of an objective format, so to speak. So, but anyway, I just wanted to kind of bring it down to reality and say, okay, let's talk about it in terms of what the experience is, or how do we do it? How do we create a state of mind that we are calling a higher vibration that is of an extremely positive and euphoric nature, that has an elevating quality to it, right? Because if we're counting on people to unite and embrace and become and embody this energy in order to truly bring the vibration of the planet up, we've got to start talking about how to do it. Because if we say, oh, let's all get together and let's 500 of us meditate, who knows what we're talking about? I mean, do you know how vast a range we have of how people meditate, or what we mean by meditation, or what is my style of meditation? And it's not that most of these probably wouldn't be pretty good. It's that it's like prayer, right? You have a prayer meeting. If you get a Christian together with a Catholic or a Baptist or an atheist, and you're talking about prayer, you could be miles apart in this ballpark, right? So we have to start talking about, what do we mean? How do you do it? What is the experience of it like? How do I create as an embodiment of what you're calling a higher vibration? How do I work to shift my own consciousness to a higher level so that I can express more authentically or artistically or creatively or more intelligently and philosophically? You see what I mean? How do I actually do that? So and of course, being an artist, a professional artist, so being an artist, I've engaged in this a lot. And when I've been an artist my whole life, so when I was younger, I kind of bought into the idea at first that I had to be in the mood to create, and if I wasn't in the mood, well, it just wasn't happening, right? I couldn't get it to happen. It's like, but then, of course, I chose it as a career path and ended up having to make it like a switch, right? That I could turn on and off, right? So I could be creative, at demand, or when I needed to, by will, so to speak. And so then I decided, okay, so the belief that I need to be in the mood, that's not going to work anymore, so let's get rid of that, and let's ask a different question, okay? Let's say, what do I mean by have to be in a specific mood, and what is that mood? Describe the mood, right? How does it feel? What kind of emotions am I experiencing? What kind of thoughts am I having? How is my environment when I'm in that mood? Or how do I create my environment when I'm in that mood? And so I started analyzing the mood itself to find out what the attributes were, what the qualities and stuff were that made that mood, so to speak, that comprised it and caused it to naturally happen, so that I could repeat it and intentionally create it. So I started kind of practicing at that, and then I got to where I could anchor moods, so to speak, by either, I never really got into the physical parts. A real good way to do it is physical stimulations, like by doing something with your hands, by, doing some kind of a physical gesture that kicks the mood in, so to speak. That's what we call an anchor. You're firing an anchor. It's like you do your thing, and it's like, whoa, it changes your whole state. For me, pictures seem to work best, right? I'd walk into a situation and I'd picture the front door, and as I walked through the door, it was like a whole new me would come in, and it was like I was jazzy and sexy and all about it, and spontaneous and carefree and fun, and but I could just instantly engage the mood. And what you find, okay, is that this is what they're referring to when they talk about an elevated state of mind, a higher consciousness, a higher vibratory frequency. Higher vibratory frequencies means what I call buzzy energy, which means it's of a high, euphoric, uplifting, elevated beautiful nature. It's joyous, it's fun, it's excited, it's enthusiastic. It talks about everything with passion and makes everything sound exciting, you know, the way you talk about it. And it kind of like almost has a little bit of like it's dancing through life rather than just walking to the water cooler. It's like it's got a little like skip in in the walk as it goes, because it's kind of like just digging it and checking stuff out, you know. But it's to create an emotional state of mind out of which you feel extremely creative is to create, first of all, ask yourself, what kind of mood, what kind of emotional quality do I need to embody and bring to this situation, so to speak, to interact with it in a way that I will serve to influence it as a means of being creative with it, right? Because when we're co-creating, which is what we're doing most of the time, it's more about whatever I want to bring to this situation and make happen. I have to first embody and be it when I walk into the situation and interact with my situation as that quality, knowing that that quality is going to stimulate the same quality in them, influencing them to the same emotional state to match mine. And when they do, then that emotional quality that I first initiated becomes the common ground through which we begin a real dynamic and flowing type interaction as a creative, because creativity is flow, right? It's that smooth, it has that smooth, natural, spontaneous, sensuous in it, kind of like expanding, you kind of like expand into your environment and you mesh with it, right? It's not you're not bumping up against stuff and, you know, little bubbles bumping as you go around. No, there's like a slight overlap and a little blending and tingling that's taking place between you and everything in your environment, so you're having this like sensuous response to it. It's like you can feel what's over here on the back side of your arm, or kind of coming in through the back of your neck and down, and it has a certain sensation to it. And then you can feel this over here, and it's got a certain, and you're perceiving with your whole body, right? Because if you pay attention, if you really notice, as you're really present in a situation and you're interacting or you're being stimulated in some way, you have all kinds of body sensations going on. It could be down in your heel, your big toe. It can shoot up to your knee. It can be in the back of your neck. It feels like a heightened. Your skin feels almost like there's like a coolness that you can feel every square inch of your skin. You feel your skin's alive and aware, and it's like sometimes you get like these little like fluttering, flowing, flashing sensations that like leave goose flesh, right? And you get chills, or you get like a rush. I call it a rush. You get a rush, and it's like, it's almost like energy's moving, and it's like joyfully moving. It just like streams through your body. It's like, you know, it tickles and it excites and it stimulates and it gives you the chills and stuff like that. But and when you come, see, we have physical senses, which is the, you know, what we're ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to touch and feel surfaces, and the ability to taste and smell, that type stuff. And then we have kind of like the energetic double to our senses, which is what we call the higher senses, the super senses, the spiritual faculties. And what these are is these are more about how you experience what you're seeing, right? How you experience what you're hearing, or the experience of taste, and the experience of you know, different textures and how they feel as you touch them, stuff like that. And it comes from the experience of something. Your senses that are having the experience comes from almost like a merging with it. You merge with it in a totally present state, and you allow the kind of like the emotions to kind of like blend and pulsate and kind of, and then you enter into a natural state of like rapport or sympathy, energetic sympathy where you're just kind of fluxing and flowing, and you're having a dynamic interaction with whatever, with your environment, with another person, with a dog, with a, you know, a little bird up in the tree, with a cool cloud formation. You're just constantly interacting and responding to everything that's around you with full heightened sensory awareness. And that creates a state of mind that when you experience life at that level, with that intensity, with that depth, that moves you inside with emotion, it makes you have to express. I mean, it's very compelling energy. So you want to create something, you want to write something, paint something, play something, dance, you know, sing to the top of your lungs. You want to just like skip and jump and do a couple flips, you know, as you go in someplace. And that's how it feels. It's a euphoric high. It's a sensation. And this is who you're being in the quality that you bring to a situation to kind of like seize it and capture it, right? And consume it or be consumed by it, you know. But it's a buzz. It's like it's very sexy and passionate and sensuous and kind of like erotic, and it has that like eloquent. It's flowing, right? The creativity is just like it's like a mesmerizing beat, right? That just flux and flows and expands and you know, wants to move and flux, and it's that type of sensation. So it's the emotional quality that you bring to what you're doing that determines the nature of how it expresses, so to speak, rather than what you're using to express, what medium you're using, or even in a conversation. It's not really about what's being said or even the topic or what you're discussing. It's that topic's being used to create a discussion that allows a flow to start taking place, a spontaneous interaction that becomes dynamic and you know, very mesmerizing and almost trance-inducing with another person. It's the experience that it's really about, so to speak, not what's actually being discussed necessarily. You see what I'm saying? Because all expression comes from the emotional quality, because the emotion is an exact duplicate or correspondence to the feeling, which produces another exact correspondence in terms of the quality of your thoughts, the type of thoughts, what type of thoughts you're having, what you tend to focus on. All of that is all interconnected, okay? And the most powerful aspect of that, as far as actual experience goes, is the emotional quality, because emotion is pure experience. It's full body sensation that aligns the thoughts, aligns the actions. It's what motivates behavior and causes us to do stuff, okay? And that's why it's the expressive component of anything, is because it's that arousing, moving, expanding, moving outward type energy, which is what causes expression. That's what makes us have to express, right? Creative people, the difference between creative people and non-creative people is non-creative people see creativity as an option, right? It's something that people do because they like, no. An artist, a creative person, sees it as something they must do, right? Matter of fact, sometimes it's so relentless and so overwhelming, this need to constantly express, that it feels relentless. It feels, it can drive us nuts. It can, we can enter into conflict with it almost as a kind of anguish that starts happening because it has a drive to it, okay? But when they're talking about higher consciousness, you know, higher vibration, you know, love, joy, happiness, you got to think, what does that mean? And if I was in that state of love and joy and happiness and you know, devotion and adoration and admiration and respect and reverence and compassion and, you know, feeling passionate and excited and enthusiastic about stuff, what would that be like? How would I be? How would I feel about life? How would I be in a situation? What influence would I bring to everything that I came in contact with just through my sheer energy, let alone my actions and what I'm actually going to say and do? So realize that you can create your vibratory frequency, your state of mind, by intentionally embodying certain emotions, by focusing your mind on certain types of thoughts, introducing yourself to sensuous enhancements in your environment, so to speak, creating ambiance, setting a mood or setting the stage for a certain type of mood to naturally come out of, and just practice it, because we can literally control our mind to quit thinking and feeling certain ways and train it to learn how to think and feel in new ways that are based on positive emotions that have a whole different type of expression to them, and truly bring that we become the quality that we bring into the world that serves to influence it or to interact with it in such a way that it creates more of it, right? It stimulates it. It's like Johnny Appleseed, right? And all the little seeds. You're walking around and you're just stimulating it in everybody that you come in contact. It's like a magic wand, right? That you sweep across the situation and all the little sparks fly out, and as they land, they just light up everything. And everything kind of comes alive with kind of like a sizzle and a pop when you bring that much, you know, energy into your average everyday situation, and learn how to live more fully. So anyway, practice it, and most of all, enjoy yourself, have a good time, and make it fun, okay? Because that is the higher consciousness, that is the joy of life, is enjoying it. Don't make it hard, don't make it work, don't struggle, no, play, have fun, pretend, imagine, you know, try, and if it doesn't work, try again, right? And just keep dabbling and playing and stuff, and after a while you'll get used to it, and it'll start becoming a habit, and next thing you know you'll be doing it a lot, and then you'll be doing it most of the time, and then it'll become your general state of mind that you're at most of the time. It'll take something to actually throw you off at that point, so it won't be something you have to actually try to do anymore. But anyway, so just experiment, make it a point, you know, commit to the practice, and have a good time.